Hello and welcome to Healing Chiron. I'm Kimberly. I am a trauma-informed, what am I? Trauma-informed, equine-assisted breakthrough coach. I always get those things twisted. And I live in Sedona, Arizona with my 4 magical horses, my 2 amazing pups. And now I'm going to introduce Taylor. She's going to introduce herself. That was a terrible intro. We'll get it right next time, maybe. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Hey everyone, I'm Taylor. I'm an intuitive psychotherapist, and I am the owner of Magnolia Moon Therapy. That is me. That's what I do.
Yeah, beautiful. I feel like we're kind of in this eclipse energy that's a little, whoa, it's so beautiful. I'm loving this eclipse energy. I have not felt this much peace. I've mentioned to you offline, and maybe not on this show, but how a year ago in the October eclipse season, my life literally the tower card that came in my world. And I knew that with Pluto, I knew there was going to be a lot coming up because at the beginning of the year, this Pluto Capricorn switching to, or Pluto, Capricorn switching to Pluto Aquarius this whole year, it was going to be an 18-year cycle of where have you been lying to yourself? And universe said, mirror. And I said, oh, shit. It was that kind of year. Maybe that's why I love astrology so much, is because I actually know these things, patterns and systems and dots connecting are coming. So I have a little bit of preparation for it, but it's an outline. I never have a crystal ball to know exactly what's going to happen. And so to come into this eclipse energy was almost like, here's your reward for doing the work. Here's your reward for not giving up. Here's your reward for being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your reward for the work you've done with stopping drinking, no processed sugar. Yes, it was a fucking shitstorm, but a shitstorm that you had a hand in creating.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's going to be, and it was. And so I'm humbled. And I am grateful because this energy feels so beautiful. And my North Node happens to be Pisces and Virgo. So I'm in a nodal return. And yeah. And I also have Chiron in Aries. And that's where the planetary Chiron is right now. And so because mine's in retrograde, it's 3rd house, it would mean that I would come into my voice and my healing of my childhood or my Chiron wounding later in life. And I turned 55 this summer, and I feel that. I feel loops that had been running for so long blind spots, that this year really put them in the forefront, and through new neural pathway building, somatics, the horses, tarot, astrology, the outside of the box tools that I love are really the anchors that helped me, like ski poles, navigate this journey to this. So yeah. And also anyway, maybe I should shift it over to you before I I take up the whole time talking about how wonderful the energies are. Taylor, how's this eclipse energy for you?
I'm just here. Just give her the mic. I love it. This is an interesting shift for me. Everything is in my 7th house. So I have Aries in Venus in the 7th house. I have, Pisces in the 7th house also. So 7th house is big for me right now. It's interesting. What I've noticed is the things that I struggle with the most are coming up, and I'm like, oh, this is so interesting, and noticing how much I was attached to an old way of being, an old thought, an old whatever, how many times I went down that neural pathway to grease it up really, really good. Yeah, it's interesting. And and I was sharing this with you offline, that I wish in these moments, when you have these moments of clarity of shifting a pattern or shifting a way of being, that you're like, oh, this is why I'm in this grind. Like, this is, and people would always say to me, kind of throughout these last few years of like honoring that grind space and like really honoring those patterns and everything. And honestly, I feel like I was just like, okay, this is just stuff people say. Like, I was like, good for you kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
in reality, that is becoming clearer for me as well. And so just understanding, the depth and in those thought patterns and that they don't serve you and all of that. So that's what's coming up for me. I love Pisces energy. It is so mystical and nourishing and watery and flowy. The full moon was out and I went swimming at night and was just kind of hanging out with the moon and just kind of chatting with her and like having conversation. So that was
Beautiful.
so beautiful. Yeah. And yeah, who doesn't love Pisces energy? Come on now. Like,
I didn't. I've stuck Pisces for a long time. And part of it is it's my north node and it's in my third house of communication, and my south node is in the ninth house, Virgo. So it's all past life. And I'm very comfortable in the Virgo perfectionism. But because my masculine and feminine energy have kind of not talked to each other very nicely, that aspect of my femininity, that flow that comes so natural for women, and when we're in a safe and protected environment, wasn't comfortable for me. So it took me quite some time to come into loving my femininity and loving being a woman, even, and even having an idea of what self-care and self-love truly was, like looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, and meaning it and feeling that. And so now I love Pisces. Now I'm like, oh, okay.
She can stay.
But yeah, you can hang out. But for a good long time, it was very, very, I denied it. So yeah, I love all, and we all have all the astrological signs within us. So yes, it's fun to know your chart, and it is a great signpost. But if you just want to, just, we all have all of it, and we just leave with different parts. And so, yeah, I think that's been something that's been fun for me to understand too, because when I know people's astrological signs, it gives me an energetic understanding in a very simple way, because the astrology, it's the elements, earth, wind, fire, and water. So when I know the let's call it the first three is what I think there's a name for it. I can't think of it right now. And let's say it's all water. Well, then I know that I know something about the elements of that person, and what we're seeking is balance of earth, wind, fire, and water in our chart. So then I can look at that person's chart, and let's say they really don't have any earth, or they don't have any fire. I'd suggest like candles. You might start bringing fire into the balance. Or if you don't have any water in your chart, have a water fountain in your room, because we're always seeking balance with the elements.
That's interesting. That's a lovely offering. Noticing I'm all earth, and so like I crave water. Like it's no one's business. Like I wish I could just be swimming in the water all day, every day, like not talking to anyone and just being in the water.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And noticing how nourishing that feels. So yeah, feeling like the Pisces energy kind of takes the edge off because I have fire with Venus and Mars and then the earth. So when I'm in my full embodied state, my energy is intense and it can be, you're like, yes, yes.
I love it. I love it. That's what the truth sword is bringing out in us humans, is like this, and we are, and we're allowed. That's who we are. So I love it.
It's unapologetic. It feels
Yes.
this is who I am. This is what I'm stepping into. Yeah. And so for me, always kind of having the balance of the water is always really helpful because I am such a feeler. And so being able to kind of move through some of that has been helpful. But yeah, that earth and that fire, man, woo!
Mm-hmm. And when we have those in balance, I mean, and Taylor and I are both 5-1s in human design. And well, at least when I think of 5, it's the witchiest number. It's the most karmic number. And in the 5-1 in human design system, we're the ones that are the game changers. And we have the ability, and we're also INFJs. We just have this natural ability to connect dots and see systems. And owning that. I'm no longer, yes, witchy as fuck. Yes, that's me. I love it. I love nature. I fucking love it. I love you, Mother Nature. I love everything. I just love you. Oh, I love you. And it's so powerful.
What is interesting to me, and I think this is such a beautiful topic to touch on today, that what's so funny is you say nature, and like if anyone looked at my chart, they would be like, duh, she's all earth. Like it makes sense. Like, being with the trees, like being with the butterflies, like being with, you know, all like the land, like actually feeling like the dirt and the soil and all of that. And what is so funny is you have like it almost feels like culture puts it in these boxes of like I can say I love nature and I can say I love being with the trees and like, you know, just how refreshed you feel after being in a rainforest. Oh my god, like let me live in a rainforest. And like but you can't say, or like it's, you know, whatever, taboo to say like, yeah, but I also read tarot and I'm intuitive and like all of these things. It's like, well, no, duh, man. Like people who love nature are intuitive. Like so so funny that they go hand in hand, but that there's like this stigma or this like almost I'm seeing it like goo, like this like stringy goo around like this witchy things and you know whatever that is, and it's just so it's funny to me, one, because again you like they go hand in hand. Yeah, they go hand in hand with each other, and people's stereotypes of like what that looks like are kind of being afraid of that. And what is so beautiful and like what's coming with this, you know, Pisces energy, this Aquarian, all of this is like all this is coming back online for people. And it's like, I mean, how beautiful, like, you know, and I'm so excited to see women step into this, men step into whatever that looks like, and just like let's do some cool shit. Like
the coolest shit. I went to the drum circle here on the eclipse up at the point and the Vista, and it was first off there were just so many people. We had to park down at like Bell Rock and walk up, so it was just so many people up there, and there was an ecstatic dance as well, and it was so beautiful. And I really, because I gotta be honest, I haven't felt too inspired by the energetics. It's been heavy. And so to be up there and to feel this shift, and this vision of just humans coming in to this beautiful, connected to nature power and open up to it. And I just felt like that's really, it is happening. And I was very, very encouraged, and having the drum hit my sacral, doing so much release. It's such a great somatic experience. If you're in this journey of healing with trauma, anything somatic that brings you joy out in nature, do it as much as you can.
Yes. And thank you for sharing that, Kim, because what is so, and again, like these are tools that are like basic tools. This is like going back in time, going back to how people and cultures and tribes and all of these people did these things in these ways of healing that don't require 19 certifications of like eons in school of like accumulating all this stuff. Like, and again, like the path is the path for each person. But like what is so beautiful and what's coming back, and I'm like loving this, and thank you for sharing that, is like people are gathering together and they're like, wait a minute, like we
Yeah.
already have everything we need. And like
Yeah.
saying you like nature or like this witchy piece or like whatever that looks like, all it is grounding. Like all it comes back to is grounding. All you're doing
Yeah.
is grounding your nervous system. And
Mhm.
I'm just so excited. I'm like, let's do it. Let's do this, everyone. Let's get everyone in
Yeah.
a circle.
Yeah.
Let's get these. Like it just, I'm so excited to see what comes. And I think it's going to be so beautiful. But yeah, unpacking this witchy wound of like grounding your nervous system in nature and like being able to talk to butterflies. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, you know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like,
Yeah, having a connection. If I mean, we say we're all one, and but we're sovereign of the one. I mean, so that's why we're so beautiful and fractals. But the connection is that true north connection to your divine connection, your divine purpose, your divine lane. And so for me, when I see 444, and yesterday I took pictures of it, I saw 4444, like it was in bags of banana, and they all had the number 4444 on them. And I took pictures of it because one of my horses was born on 444.
yeah.
So, and how he came into my world. So it's a language for me. It's my personal connection with signs and symbols and my archetypical story. Now, I didn't grow up with any sort of religious anything. I grew up with on a ranch. So nature comes like that's my dad was God in my house. It wasn't like nature was where I went to think, and but the control and the you this came from a fatherly, well, anyway, I think you get where I'm saying, going with that. I didn't have any sort of, I never had any sort of weirdness with the word witch or the word anything like that.
Mhm.
So while my studies were quite underground, studying the occult, I didn't make it a secret. Like you could go to my home and every room was a different type of altar with something that I wanted you to like start. It's meant to trigger your subconscious. I love that. I love having those things in my home. Altars are something that are very fun for me.
Yeah.
Um, my spiritual practice is fun,
Mhm. Yeah.
intense, but so is any spiritual practice.
Yeah. And
It's not glitter and fucking rainbows. It's you have moments of it and cherish those moments. What's that?
I said, I've got some glitter. I love glitter. Like you're like, it's glitter. Thank you for
I love
sharing that.
glitter.
One thing that when you shared that made me think of is it's so individualized for each person. So like
Mhm.
we all kind of in talking about this sovereignty, like in personal responsibility and some of these themes that like you and I share of like just kind of core values of navigating things, but noticing like, yeah, and that practice is like so true to you, right? Like that intensity, like having the different rooms, like all of that and honoring that space. And for someone else, it may look, like this, that, or whatever, but that like how beautiful that is that we can all kind of come together with our own like flavor and our own unique
Mhm.
like way of kind of expressing
Absolutely.
ourselves or yeah, whatever that
You
looks
know,
like.
I'll tell a story. I had a friend back in when I lived in Santa Monica, and I'd had someone give me like it was a devil soap on a rope, and I thought it was hilarious. And I put it in my guest bathroom. I didn't think fucking twice about it.
Mhm.
Well, I had a girlfriend come over that she grew up in the church. Her dad was a pastor. They lived on the property with the pastor, so very deeply ingrained. And she had stayed the night at the house, and all of a sudden there was like screaming in my bathroom. And I'm like, what the fuck? She was in there tearing it apart and throwing it because she had been so deeply, I prefer activated, that she was in a break. Like it was that intense for her. And that's, I think, when I realized for the very first time, I really started looking at archetypes from the religious, and then I mean, Hypatia is she's my favorite woman in history, and she was a pagan that got along with Christians, and I still am deeply inspired, and Hypatia is I walk with her, because I want to see the solutions that you're talking about, where these archetypes aren't at war. People aren't at war internally with their archetypes, because as within, so without, as above, so below. So when I look out in the world stage with war, it's an internal. I'm not at war with anyone. I've sat down with my archetypes, and I'm not at war with myself anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge part of what's starting to open up is more and more talk about the subconscious, and more people are exploring ketamine, which is something that I'm starting to offer with the horses and in collaboration with a doctor. Taylor and I have discussed some concerns seeing the opening up of these sort of modalities. I think I can speak for Taylor when I say it comes down to self-responsibility, and that if you're going to explore these modalities, such as ketamine or different ayahuasca, that you take it seriously as a spiritual and a personal know thyself growth tool, rather than an escapism, which I think that I could safely say I see quite a bit of living in Sedona. And
with the self-responsibility piece, I think that the other piece is having support and having, well, and this is just, my own personal thoughts. And whatever happens will be what happens for whoever as it happens. And also being mindful and having the awareness, or some how do I want to say this? Some intuition or kind of guidance on like steps, like having it being like a step approach, just for like overall safety. And I would say for me, just personally, like safety is important for me, in any kind of aspect when you're exploring in any kind of way. And I know other people may feel different and kind of like, balls to the walls, which, hey, like more power to you.
Yeah. Know
But
yourself.
yeah, I would just say in kind of exploring some of the modalities where you're having these non-ordinary states of consciousness and you're exploring these other things, that your body's really grounded, you're in a safe container, that it looks and feels right for that person, versus just kind of jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
But again, I may have a little bit of a more kind of cautionary lens. I think some things can, and again, the lessons are the lessons for each soul, but I think like we can have a gentler approach to things versus, it's cool, it's a fad, whatever, these kind of like new things are coming out. But really like still honoring your body and honoring like all that your body is holding on to. And so, yeah, I don't know, just maybe being a little bit mindful and making sure the container is the right container for you.
I think I've done a lot of drugs. I've had really fantastic, enlightening, fucking breaking inspirational times. And I've ended up fucked up and not really in a good place, and shit got fucking not, it was bad. It wasn't fun. And you know what the common denominator was? Me. And my mental state, who I was around. And I'm talking a little bit more in my 20s and 30s, but in the work I do now, and understanding the power of the subconscious and the healing work that this can do. I'm a 180 from who I was when I lived in LA, and that was more of a lifestyle. And now, because I have that frame of reference, and I do this work, the value of having people that truly can help you journey through this and be a guide because they've done it. And so there's just a different, but when you're a self-healer, that's where you gotta do the work to like start to really understand and trust your intuition, learn the nervous system, read everything you can. If you've got CPTSD, ADHD like me, and you're coping, it's going to be a whole different experience when you start to look and you learn the nervous system and you really start to hear yourself and your intuition. And then when you journey, it's a whole different experience. I didn't know the nervous system when I was 20 and 30, when I was, doing this stuff, and I would have had no frame of reference for it. So there's certainly no judgment on, how you're going about the journey. Just some words of wisdom, if you will. Know your drug dealer, know your drugs. Like
Yeah.
I think about kids in their 20s and 30s that are out there, like how I was, and I wouldn't be touching anything. You'd have to buy drug strips to even, I wouldn't trust anybody with anything at this point.
Yeah. And that goes back to that container of just like making sure like the people that, if you're in these environments and you're exploring these different, tools and whatever that looks like in whatever form, whether it's drugs or something else, or, whatever that, you're still honoring your body in that process and that kind of grounding that nervous system. Otherwise we're going to be having some
and I think it's in our nature from Mother Nature to want to explore these altered states. If you go back to the classicists in Greece or Greek classicists, it was all about ritual and drugs and coming together. The serpents, we can go down to Medea and we can talk about pharmacia and we can talk about nature and healing and the body and vibration. And all of it, it's in us. We're remembering it. The system or the matrix, and it would have you think that that's the way to go. And that's a incredible journey to navigate. But I think that's why people are doing the altered states, or there's a natural inclination to want to get back to true north, their divine mission, divine purpose. And so it happens. And for some people, it's just breath work and they never go to any other sort of outside stimulant. So people they use breath, so it's not for everybody, but if you're being called to it, I support the outside of the box modalities because we are so unique. We need outside of the box.
Yeah.
We need the rainbow. We're all fractals. It's all harmonics, vibrations, all that. Yeah.
And it's giving people the opportunity for that choice of like, this is what's available. Here are all the different modalities, like what's resonating with you, and maybe what's resonating at this point in your life may not resonate at that point. So maybe there's something else, but yeah, giving people the option to kind of choose what's right for them in that moment is kind of that sovereignty piece of having the authority to do that. So
yeah. And it's very with all of our Virgo and Uranus charts, it is the High Priestess card. And the Earth Priestess, and then Pisces. So it's this natural flow of Earth Priestess, Spirit above, drawing in the Earth. It's it's so beautiful, and we all have that in our charts. We all can tap into that beautiful High Priestess Earth energy, and it's so magical, and I love it.
How do you feel about pulling a card before we close?
Yeah. Now, do you want me to pull a tarot, or I've got my moon deck, or I've got my
What are you
horse deck?
feeling?
I think I'm feeling horse medicine.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm going to pull from the Work Your Light Oracle deck. Okay. I'm going to start actually using these cards in my practice. So I'm excited to,
I love that.
Pull this
I
out.
love that. Oh my gosh, my client, the women that are coming to me and calling and booking and things, it's all this. They're all like, yes, I'm anyway. Okay, pull your card. Makes me so happy.
I pulled one this morning. I'm curious if the same one is going to come out. Okay, I'll share mine. So it's you're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north.
What?
Yeah. Look at the art on that. Isn't it beautiful?
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Spirit.
And it's like all this like watery, like she's like, I love this.
You're already doing it.
I just want to look at that card like all day. I just want to sit with it.
I know.
Turn it that way.
Isn't that fun when cards can pull you in so deep into your subconscious? You could just spend all day there just with one card. You could just fall into it. Yeah.
Just love it.
Okay, so I pulled 11.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Endurance, Trailblazers Challenge, perseverance of vision, labor and risk. Moving steadfastly along the trail, a horse passes through fluorescent sunrises, blazing sunsets, and rainbows forming at the edge of the storm. The gift, inspiration and dedication combined to fulfill your heart's desires. The challenge, the path to success is filled with unexpected detours that teach you more than you bargained for. Trust, adaptability, and strength of conviction will see you through. Endurance. And so this is kind of a long story, so I won't read it. I'll just leave it with that. But yeah, endurance. And boy, isn't that the truth?
Are we feeling a detour? That's interesting. That word has come up a little bit lately.
Well, I feel like kind of the world's in a big pivot and a detour. Like there's a lot of energetics that are getting ready to shift. And being able to persevere in your strength and staying in that true north, that lane, being in the eye of the storm as opposed to being the chaos around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, this, and we just talked about kind of the rainbow and the different energetics of traversing the subconscious. Yeah. And so
it's exciting.
It is. I'm super excited. And now we're getting ready to, well, in 2 weeks, we'll have another eclipse. There's just so much going on this whole like 2-week eclipse season. And then in October, then it'll be basically the next 6 months is where you'll see also stuff folding out. So eclipses last 6 months, generally, their phases.
I love it when they're back to back.
Yeah, that's how it works. Okay, well, you have a wonderful day, Taylor. I love this series. And hey, maybe next time when we come back, Taylor is dropping a book. And she's been talking to marketing and doing all sorts of stuff lately. So one of these shows, it's going to be all about Taylor and her book. And I can't wait for this. So very excited for you. I love you very much. Everybody have a beautiful week. Until next Thursday. Stay magical.